Neville knows, Neville knows, Neville knows. Oh, what Neville knows, then you will know, because you don't know what Neville knows. Neville knows what you don't know, and so you will know what Neville knows. When what Neville knows, then you will know, because you don't know what Neville knows. Neville knows what you don't know, and so you will know what Neville knows.
Okay, welcome back to Neville Knows. We're going to do a short segment on oil pumps. The oil pump basically is the life and soul of an engine, because without the oil pump, there's no oil getting through any parts of the engine. All the rotating, sliding surfaces, they don't get lubrication. Different types of oil pumps, majority of them are driven either via the camshaft or a series of gears inside the engine, or you get those that are driven by a cam belt on the front geometry of the cams. There's a belt that fits through that bit, works on that pulley, and actually you can see there the oil pump rotates inside the engine. One of the oil pumps that we're using a hell of a lot of these days is for the Golfs, mainly the Golf 1s. These oil pumps, if you picture the engine block like this, you take the sump off, this would mount onto the block, and this shaft gets driven by a series of gears, and you distribute it on top, and that rotates. And with that rotating, this sieve lays in oil up to about there in your sump. It pulls all the oil up, and through two gears, a driven gear and a mating gear, circulates the oil, goes through all the galleries, pushes it all the way up to the head, and it slowly drains off. And as it's draining off, anything that rotates or slides gets serviced. The faster you drive, the faster this turns, the more the oil pressure. Now people all say, an oil pump, bought an oil pump from you, we have no pressure. An oil pump rightly does not give you pressure. The restriction to the oil pump flow is where your pressure comes from. We'll just do this short piece to show you an oil pump. That's your driven gear, your drive gear, and there's your driven gear. If you have a look, that's what will rotate when the engine's turning. This is the filter that goes on top, much like that one, and it mounts into the sump and pulls the oil up. But when your engine is stationary, you don't need that much oil. So the pressure drops off, or the volume I should say drops off. That's your little relief valve. That operates in this housing. That valve will close and give the oil slower circulation through the engine, but keep most of the oil up in the head division of the engine. As you accelerate and drive, this will open and send more volume of oil through, and that is controlled by this little spring. So the relief valve will go in there, spring goes in there, and this nut secures on the pump. I think the best way to simplify how an oil pump works is, let's say the garden hose is on an outdoor tap. As you're opening the garden tap, the volume of water flowing through the hose is what the oil pump will create for you. It's the volume of the flow. The restriction to that is where your pressure comes in. So to simulate the pressure, it would be like putting your thumb over the end of the hose, and the more you squeeze, the harder the water will flow. As in an engine, the oil would flow through the oil pump, but the restriction to the volume that is produced here, which is the crankshaft end float, in other words, the way your crankshaft moves up and down with the thrust washers, your clearance between your journals and the bearings on your conrods and your mains, and as well as your oil galleries through the engine. They are all so designed that once the oil hits them, it compresses and it actually slows the flow down, but you're driving faster and faster, so the oil picks up pressure. And that pressure is what gets through the whole engine, and that's where you get a pressure gauge on a vehicle. So when the guy gives you a statement, says, this oil pump's no good, there's no pressure, the oil pump's fine. It's giving you a volume. The restriction to the flow, that's where your pressure comes from. As far as oil pumps and servicing goes, very seldom do you need to replace an oil pump unless the vehicle's really done high mileage and you're doing a complete strip down. So this is more just an information and a by the way. At AutoZone, we do sell the whole range of oil pumps. If you should need one, or you feel you're doing a rebuild or a classic car that you're doing up, this is the first part you go and buy. Because you can do everything else. You can do the bearings, pistons, rings. If you don't have a nice new oil pump, you're going to have no pressure due to this restriction to flow, and you're going to have a problem. And the engine will probably knock a bearing or actually seize. So from all of us at AutoZone, I hope you enjoyed this morning's show. And until next time, keep your service records. Keep your vehicle on time when the service records do come due and you have to have your car serviced. And see you at AutoZone. Till next time, Neville knows.
Neville knows, Neville knows, Neville knows. Oh, what Neville knows, then you will know, because you don't know what Neville knows. Neville knows what you don't know, and so you will know what Neville knows. When what Neville knows, then you will know, because you don't know what Neville knows. Neville knows what you don't know, and so you will know what Neville knows.